At Pan Am 360, we have Donny McCaslin, who is going to be a soloist in a very special event at Orchestre National de Jazz, led by Philippe Côté, who composed and arranged a special piece regarding David Bowie, I suppose, Shades of Bowie. Obviously, because Donny McCaslin has been very important in the last David Bowie album, Black Star. He played a central role as a saxophone player, but also as a music director, if I remember. And we talked about that with Donny a few years ago, because the ultimate David Bowie album happened 8 years ago. So just a few months after Donny came in Montreal to perform with his own band, and we talked about that. And now we're very pleased that he's back again in Montreal with an orchestra program. Donny, I saw the video of what you achieved in 2019 with Jules Buckley, and there was a very interesting approach, because again, you are a jazz player, but you have a rock, alternative rock attitude also, and also you're very interested in electronic. So Jules Buckley could understand your aesthetics and transcribe it in an orchestral way. About Philippe now. Philippe wrote for you a song inspired by probably the Black Star album. Is it right, Philippe?
Not really, actually. By a few of David Bowie's pieces, but not Black Star in particular.
Not in particular. Yeah, so just tell us the way it happened.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I have a very bad cold this morning.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So actually, when I first started to do that project, Bowie was not in the idea to write. Actually, I just wanted to write something for Donny. But then that project started maybe like 5 years ago, and then there was a big resting period because I was busy with other things. And when I started to write again, I had this idea of taking some elements from David Bowie songs and putting that with my own conception, and trying to hide some of the David Bowie material to inspire Donny and improvise over that orchestral landscape.
Yeah. And about your perception, Donny, of this work, you're going to rehearse it very soon before performing it this week in Montreal. So it's such a difference with, if we compare, of course, I don't know. I don't like comparisons, but the only example we have with you on video is this Jules Buckley recording, but probably it's quite different.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really love about what Philippe has done is it feels, as he was speaking to, he was checking out Bowie's music, but the way he has translated that with his own musical language, it's almost like the word that comes to mind is impressionistic. That it's not obvious. There are not obvious influences. That Philippe has taken whatever points of inspiration that he drew from. I think he was able to just take the time to let it flow through his creative imagination and come out in a way that is really his own and really feels like new music and really feels like something that's very contemporary.
Yeah.
And it does not at all feel like an obvious Bowie sort of fill in the blank there with cover or whatever. It is very far from that. It feels like this is new Philippe Côté music that has drawn from some of the DNA of these beautiful songs by David, but really it feels like new music, and again the word impressionism, just with the way that the horns kind of come in and out, and the choices of cells, these intervallic combinations that Philippe used. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Of course, David Bowie could be an easy hook in a way of, being, not very creative, just taking some elements of his chorus or of his main songs and trying to translate that in an orchestral way. But this is not obviously what happened, if I understand.
Yeah, that there's in a way another word that comes to mind is grit. There's some of the grit that I feel from Bowie's music present here, and some of that sensibility for sure, but it really feels like Philippe did his own thing with it, and that's something that I really appreciate. And again, it just feels really, I don't know if this is the right word, but contemporary. It feels like this is new music, and it's anchored in some of these Bowie ideas, but it really doesn't feel like something that's coming from 1983 or 1995 or whatever. It feels really current, and that's something that's really interesting to me. To step into this, and because I do this other project with Jules, actually, the Black Star Symphony, where we are, and that's maybe another conversation, but that is like that record reimagined for 65-piece orchestra and the band and singers, and it's taking those songs and pushing them forward, not just transcriptions of the record, but it is those songs, right? This feels really different. It feels like new music, and I'm feeling these elements of inspiration, but I also feel like, wow, there's a lot of freedom for me here to just sort of try to paint around the canvas that Philippe has set.
Yeah, Philippe, if we want to be a little more specific about this Bowie inspiration, of course, the work is not song based. It's not a series of songs, but some evocations. But can you explain or give us some clues, very small clues, about the way you built this piece?
Sure. For sure, it's not a David Bowie medley. That's for sure. I know the references, so I kind of recognize them, but I'm sure that a lot of people won't recognize them at all, because I'm playing with a familiarity, but in a very subtle level, because I'll take a snippet of melody in the same key, but I loop it, or I put it in sideways in different ways. So it's very, we don't really know. But there are a few specific quotes that are like exactly like 2 bars, exactly the way the song. But I'm hiding these, and I won't say which song. I'm keeping this fresh. So
we'll have to find out.
Yeah, that's the idea.
It's interesting. It's a good play for the public, the audience, because this is what we want to express. Evocations, not too precise, but still there. So if we talk about Bowie, we have to have some elements, of course. So, but also it's also a work of the new orchestral approaches in jazz. The big bands have been very stable for a long time, and since one decade or two, since Maria Schneider and other guys like Jules Buckley, for example, and many others now are starting to think arrangements, orchestration, and composition differently with big ensemble for jazz. What do you think, Donny?
Yeah, I agree that it's in a new period of exploration, and integration with the way that these things are assimilated, these elements, and I like it. I like that a lot more people are using orchestral elements and just experimenting with different ways to put it together. I have a long history being in Maria's band for a couple decades now, and I've seen her evolution and really learned a lot from just watching her process and being in the middle of it and seeing her dedication to detail and seeing her work ethic and seeing her commitment to the principles that she values, her commitment to really honestly telling her story and not seeing her trying to do things just to fit into this box or fit into this box, but to just keep. And I know both of you know this. I mean, she's just an incredible musician, but I've seen her do that and seen that evolve, and I love it. I love it. I mean, personally, for me, that opportunity with the Metropole Orchestra with Jules, it was like a dream come true. As a kid, I'd always wanted to have an opportunity to play with orchestra, and to suddenly have this like program of my music, some with vocals, some instrumental, realized with that studio orchestra, which is on such a high level, the Metropole. They're just amazing. You know, the string players really play rhythm tremendously. They can really connect with the drums, and so you can play a lot of different types of music. It was a dream come true. So ever since then, I've you know, wanted to do more and more of this. You know, of course, growing up with like the Stan Getz record, that I'm suddenly forgetting the title of Focus. Stan Getz, Focus. I mean, you know, and of course, you know, what the Miles Davis records
with Gil Evans.
I mean, oh my goodness, you know, I've actually have played in the Gil Evans Orchestra over the years, and so I've had the opportunity not only to play a lot of that music, but some of the earlier stuff that Gil wrote with Claude Thornhill. I mean, it's you know, these songs are like 2 minutes and 59 seconds. You know, like they're really short, but all of the content that Gil is able to put into that. Anyway, I know I'm sort of veering off from the question, but to bring it back, like so to me, this format is always exciting because there's a lot of possibilities, and it gets us away from like the typical saxophone, bass, and drums and piano format, which I love. But you know, there's just a lot more possibilities here for the imagination. And Philippe has done a great job with this piece, you know, because it is, you could say, oh, it's a big band, okay, sort of, but that's really does a disservice the way he imagined this piece. You know, we've got, in addition to the drum set, there's 2 percussion players, marimba, you know, there's a lot happening, a lot of doubling with the woodwinds, a lot of textures, you know, so it's really, he's got a real orchestral approach to this, which is beautiful.
Yeah. Philippe, let's talk about the orchestration and the instruments chosen. So how did you build that, and how did you choose the elements of the colors of this orchestra and this specific project?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great orchestra here in Montreal, Orchestre National de Jazz de Montréal. And the strength of this orchestra is that they're very good with traditional big band, but they're also very good with more modern music. So it's fun to play with them. And for my own conception of big band, I'm more towards like a large ensemble or orchestral. It's not really big band. So I use a lot of woodwinds, but for this piece, I used a lot of percussions. That was the idea. So instead of having just a small rhythm section and tons of horns, it's like rhythm section and also horns. So,
I see.
Yeah, and 2 classical percussions. It's not like, let's say, Latin percussions for a groove. It's really for textures, for colors. So it's really putting the music towards more orchestral music in a way.
That's cool. And also Donny knows a lot of those musicians involved, because you played in Montreal way before the Bowie story.
Yeah, it evokes so many memories coming up here. I mean, I think in the beginning, the first gig, actually, I was playing with Gary Burton's band. This is like 1988 or 1999.
Okay.
And we played as part of the Montreal Jazz Festival at the Spectrum, the old Spectrum.
Yeah.
Pat Metheny was the special guest. It was the year that Pat was playing with multiple bands, you know, as part of the festival. So it was just, you know, you cannot ask for a better introduction to Montreal than playing at the Spectrum, you know, with Gary Burton's quintet, with Pat Metheny. It was unbelievable, you know, and so then, but then for many years, I came and played, you know, L'air du Temps many times. You know, David Binney is a good friend of mine and Philippe's. You know, he organized groups, and we would do L'air du Temps, we would do Is Art. So I've really been blessed to get to know a lot of the great creative musicians here in Montreal for decades, you know, and come up and been, you know, I was in a project of Charles Papasoff's, you know, that came up and did multiple projects with him, multiple appearances with him, and Martin August and George Mitchell, and just, you know, so many great musicians here. So deep love and appreciation for Montreal. Also because I think it always felt like a place where we could come and be as creative as we wanted to be musically. You know, there was never, we have to try to do this or try to do that. It always felt like, man, the music scene, the art scene here is so creative and so open and so expansive that we can really, this is, you know, a home for us creatively. So deep love and appreciation for the music community here.
Thank you. Also, Philippe, you're going to perform another of your piece at the first part or the second part, I don't know.
The first part, yeah, the McGill Jazz Orchestra one is doing the first part, and they're going to perform a piece that I wrote 2 years ago for the Canadian National Jazz Orchestra. It's 2:15. It's a piece based on a poem by Lee Tsang, a British poet that I know, and it's about the residential schools. So it's a really deep subject. But so yeah, I wrote that. It's and Donny will be playing the soloist part.
Oh yeah, you're so you're playing in the whole program, Donny.
Well, one piece with them. The rest is the Miguel Orchestra.
I see. Thank you. Excellent. And also, Donny, you're performing in many places after Montreal. I saw your schedule. It's a very heavy schedule for April.
Yeah, this has been a very busy period for me. I was just in Japan last week playing with Makoto Ozone, who's a piano player that I met actually playing with Gary Burton in the late 80s. But directly after our concert Thursday, I'm going to go to the West Coast of the United States with my band and play like 7 nights in a row in Denver, Tucson, Phoenix, my hometown of Santa Cruz, Oakland, and around the Bay Area. So it's sort of action-packed at it right now. And then we're going to do the Bowie Symphony, the Black Star Symphony, we're going to do at the end of this month in Charleston, South Carolina, which we did it in late February in Portland and Seattle. So we're sort of gaining momentum with that project and performing it more. So it's really, really exciting to revisit that music, number one, and then to just sort of have it realized on this grand scale. And reimagined. It's really, really fun. So a lot of good stuff coming up, and grateful to be a part of it all.
Excellent. It sounds very good. Excellent. Gentlemen, I thank you very much for this generous conversation from you just before the rehearsals. You're busy. It's very kind from you to accept this interview. I wish you an excellent week in Montreal, Donny, and an excellent tour everywhere in the United States after.
Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Philippe.
Avec plaisir.
Pour le programme et merci de cette contribution. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao.